Hey guys, and welcome to another market update with Louisbourg. I'm Marcel LeBlanc, and I'm here with my colleague Rob Currie. So, Rob, what's been happening in the markets in the last couple weeks?
Yeah, well, we typically talk in 1 month chunks. We do this every month. So,
Yeah.
over the past month, the S&P 500 has floated up another 5%.
Hmm.
But it's a little bit different than it's been in the past.
Yeah.
We've mentioned these types of moves before, but this was another kind of notable month of value outperforming growth, or some of the sectors that are out of favor seeing a little more
Right.
love.
The haves versus the have-nots.
Right, that's a great way to put it, haves versus have-nots. And so if you look at the top outperforming sectors, you look at something like energy, which, after with oil demand collapsing with both, planes and also driving and everything like that, that's been a very tough sector, but we've seen some strong rebounds there.
Yeah.
With financials, which is another, lots of worries about credit concerns, about consumers, going defaulting on their loans, all that kind of stuff. So these would be, very value-oriented investments, and they've been performing very, very well. And industrials, which are, those are obviously very susceptible to changes in demand as the economy goes up and down. So those three kind of sectors are the outperformers this month.
And it seems like the timing of that was coincided a lot with the announcement of, very favorable vaccine results, timing. And it seems like there was a big breath of fresh air, of confidence that came into the market. Are those linked in
Yeah,
some
for
way?
sure. Yeah, whenever we get that kind of confidence, where there's positive news, either from cases decreasing, or or as you're noting, vaccine positive news.
Yeah.
Those sectors tend to react very positively, and there tends to be that kind of shift.
Yeah.
Usually it's short-lived, because then it's usually usually taken over by negative news.
Right.
But right now we've kind of seen a series of positive news flows that look to be quite reasonably sustainable. So, there's, as we'll get into, there's lots of negatives as well. But that tends to, that's been kind of shifting to this more value tilt for the past few months.
Yeah.
For the past few weeks, sorry.
Right.
And so if you look at the underperforming sectors, some of them have been, ones that have done very well. For example, like tech is one of the top four underperforming sectors. You got consumer staples
In recent weeks.
recent weeks, yeah, exactly. Just in recent weeks, yeah. Still performed very well year to date, but
Year
just
to
in
date,
recent weeks.
very well. Yeah.
And so you get tech, consumer staples, utilities, and healthcare. I mean, healthcare is a notable one that kind of leads us well into kind of the next subject of the U.S. election. With a Biden victory, and even heading into the election with that kind of fear in the market, healthcare experienced some significant weakness. Kind of heading into that. Just obviously what the Democrats say about the healthcare industry, they're not very excited about profits. So if you're a profitable healthcare company, you could see some pain coming your way.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think generally if you looked at the election, I think the market saw three different possible outcomes. You had more status quo outcome, where Trump wins and the Senate stays in the hands of Republicans.
Kind of a red dominates.
Red dominates, yeah. Or you could see a blue wave, and the complete opposite, where Biden would win, and then the Dems would take over the Senate as well.
That's right.
But neither of those happened. What it looks like we have is a third option the market was kind of speculating could happen, which is the Dems having the Oval Office, but Republicans holding onto the Senate. And what that kind of creates is a little bit more of a balance. You need a more communication and negotiation between the Oval Office and the House, kind of going at the Senate to try to get some stuff passed. So it's going to, obviously that helps people like sectors like healthcare, where they could have been maybe
could have been really worse.
Yeah.
Does it? It seems like the market kind of celebrated that as well. Initially, is that still the case, where there's a little bit of optimism stemming from that?
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have had a reason to buy no matter what happened. I mean, if Trump would have won, you could have said corporate taxes are probably going to stay low.
Right.
There's
every scenario had its thing. Right?
It is kind of funny. There's lots of funny financial memes about that, where any scenario is a buy scenario. So I mean, it's the market wants to be enthusiastic sometimes, and so sometimes it'll just do that. But there are certainly reasons to be happy about the outcome, because we're likely going to see some, at least a large push for fiscal stimulus. Sorry. But then we're also going to have some of that balance, where maybe it'll be harder to pass things like tax cuts and like huge drug reform or huge healthcare reform,
right?
Which is going to be better for protecting profitability of those types of companies. So yeah, you can see kind of you're right to say it did celebrate it.
Initially,
for sure. But so the Senate, though, actually, it's probably worth noting this. It's still not a done deal. We're not really sure what's going to happen there.
Georgia, right?
Yeah, there was a runoff race in Georgia. You're right. So I think we'll find out in January what the real outcome is there. There'll be a second vote, but there's a rule. I want to say it's something like if if the incumbent or if the person doesn't get 50% of the votes, they need to do a recount or a re-vote.
So they're re-voting 2 seats. Is that it?
Exactly.
And there's the lead right now. The Republican lead is by those 2 seats.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 48-50 for Dems versus Republicans in the Senate right now.
Right.
So I mean, there is a possible outcome where the 2 incumbents, who are both Republicans, lose, and the Dems come in, and it's a 50-50 split.
50-50.
And then in that case, the vice president, Kamala Harris, would be the kind of vote split. If anytime there's a 50-50 split in the Senate.
Who's a Democrat?
Yes. So it would effectively be the Dems controlling all 3 levels at that point. So that's kind of the sum of that would be, it looks like the most likely scenario, though, is this more balanced view. It's still a lot more control for the Dems.
Few hurdles. It's not no sweep on either side, which is could be seen as a good thing.
Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, COVID cases, obviously that is the other side of the story where a lot of focus is being put on rising COVID cases. We just went through Thanksgiving here in Canada, seems to have potentially impacted numbers. Now we're looking at Thanksgiving coming up in the States. Any speculation there or any expectations on that front?
Yeah, I think there is certainly some fear in the markets, and you're seeing lots of blogs written about it, as there always are. But we're heading into the Thanksgiving in the U.S., and we could see another surge, and it could even be some people are calling it a possible supercharger of case counts, and so that's certainly a risk, certainly a fear, and we won't know until it happens.
Sure.
But how that translates into Christmas and what to expect then, and the outlook could be bleaker than maybe we'd like it to be. But then as we've already mentioned, you have the vaccine positive news kind of offset that, where we've got that kind of carrot in front of us to kind of hold on for. Yeah,
it could kind of balance things out, if you will, as far as investor sentiment.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's still, no matter what, it's clear that there is a need for fiscal stimulus to kind of get through this big lump, both in Canada and the U.S. And Canada has obviously been a little bit more liberal with their stimulus versus the U.S. And we've had some positive news on that front. I mean, you would expect whoever the Biden administration would would nominate for these types of roles would be supportive of high fiscal spending. Yeah. But Janet Yellen is kind of the rumored nominee for Treasury Secretary.
That's right.
And she's very focused on the labor market, very focused on ensuring that we have a healthy labor market, or that the U.S. has a healthy labor market. So I think that she has a great reputation, and I think she's viewed moderately positive on both sides of the aisle. So I don't think it's going to be a very controversial pick, but she's going to be very supportive on things like fiscal stimulus. So and also we've seen some tension come between the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Secretary right now, with him basically saying, we want to pull back some of the measures that we've helped you out with. And Yellen would probably come in and kind of mend that and have a more succinct kind of policy. Obviously there is a separation between the Federal Reserve and the government. You want that kind of separation.
They are two kind of separate institutions, if you will. Yeah.
But cooperation in this time is obviously much better than a lack of cooperation. You want policies to be fiscal policy and monetary policy are tools that work best when they're used together. So that's positive.
And what's kind of nice with Yellen too is I think there's a track record there. People have a good idea of what to expect.
Yeah.
So a lot less unknowns in the U.S. Should she actually be nominated and confirmed and so on. So
go through the whole process.
The whole process.
Still a few months from that, but yeah.
Well, we'll see how it plays out. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll end it there for today, and we'll chat again in a month.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks.